Yeah, we'll call the Town of Rome Plan Commission public hearing and regular meeting to order for Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 at 4 o'clock p.m. Item number 2 on the roll is roll call, starting on my right, please.
Weisinger here.
Janzek here.
Baker.
Dilge here.
Jamadi here.
Speakers on.
Also present are Building Inspector Dan Hansen, Administrative Assistant Support Specialist Taylor Oshinsky, and Town Attorney Nick Flanagan. Item number 3 is the certify the posting of the meeting. Nick?
Good afternoon, everyone. The agenda for the Plan Commission meeting was posted at the following locations on December 5th, 2023. Rome Municipal Building at 9:15 a.m., Quick Trip at 9:25 a.m., the Coosa Port Edward State Bank, 9:30 a.m., emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Daily Tribune at 9:40 a.m. The agenda was also emailed to the town website on November 30th, 2023 at 1:08 p.m. and legal notice was posted in the Wisconsin Rapids Daily Tribune on the dates of November 28th, 2023 and December 5th, 2023.
Thank you. Item number 4 is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second?
Motion by Lori, seconded by Diana to approve the agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 5 is the citizen comment portion of the agenda. I don't believe I see any orange cards there for anybody that wishes to speak on that section. For those of you that are here for a particular item on the agenda, the commission will also take comment from the public on agenda items as called by the chair, but not during citizen comment. Please note that once the commission begins discussion on an agenda item, no further comment will be allowed from the public on that issue. The next section of the agenda is no action contemplated except possible referral to a future agenda. Item number 6, information updates, recent correspondence, current events or announcements. Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring forward?
Nope.
Okay. Item number 7 is to open the public hearing. 7A, consideration of proposed plan unit development project plan amendment request for property owned by Wisconsin Dunes LLC, Sand Valley Resort. Nick?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to handle reading in the zoning department report. So for this agenda item, applicant Wisconsin Dunes LLC requests approval of an amendment to their planned unit development project plan. The Sand Valley Planned Unit Development Plan was first approved by the town of Rome on March 3rd, 2014, with a master site development plan that identified a variety of improvements centered around creating a first-class golf experience. The approved plan did not originally anticipate significant housing components. However, longer-term market factors have led to the consideration of housing as a part of the development. The PUD project plan has been amended multiple times since 2014 to allow for different layouts and developments as Sand Valley grew. The project plan amendment before you proposes a comprehensive revision to the development master plan, noting neighborhood zones of development within the PUD closer together surrounding a common area to provide for shared spaces and more concentrated pocket neighborhoods. Applicant has provided a presentation to the Plan Commission and Town Board at a joint meeting on November 16th, 2023. The proposed project plan incorporates feedback received from that meeting, and I would just make a general note that you do have an updated packet in your materials. That packet does include a new page, page 14, which has identified zones that are development areas designated on the map.
Can I ask, is that page 14 different than what we got in the original booklet?
It is. So page 14 is an additional
Okay.
page. So you would want to take a look at the packing materials for that particular page. The rest of the pages, I believe, are unchanged from what you have been provided at the joint meeting.
Maybe for clarification, Nick, it was asked that they bring back the idea of zones, I think, at the
It
last
was.
meeting.
It was, yep.
Okay, you wanna start, sir?
Sure.
Introduce yourself and away we go.
Sure. And I thought we would use this, but you guys have seen this, so we can use it as much or as little, or we can, I think everybody's sort of seen the presentation. My name is Baker Thompson. I'm the Senior Vice President of Real Estate and Homeowner Experience at Sand Valley Golf Resort. As So, I guess the question for the plan commission is, I'm happy to go through the entire presentation again. I think a lot of you've seen it. I know we've got, potentially some public here, so I'm happy to walk through the whole thing. But really up to you all in terms of how much we wanna repeat what we've already said to Council Flanagan's point. Every page is exactly identical to what we presented, in November, other than the addition of one page, from the feedback we received from that meeting, which was to sort of go and to show the overall development map into some different zones to sort of show the different pockets of development.
Excuse me, Baker, what I might do, Mr. Chair, if I might request, please, that since that was a special meeting with a joint, plan commission and town board at 4 PM, maybe it wouldn't hurt to go through this, because this is an official plan commission meeting from beginning to end. I mean, I would leave it up to my fellow commissioners, but it might be helpful for the community at large if they're watching. It's just.
They won't see that anyway.
Pardon?
They have to
Won't
turn
see
the
that.
screen of the television.
Yeah,
so
they're
they
not
I
can
gonna
mean,
see
we
it
can
better,
do
but-
that, but,
I wonder how many people.
My,
hear
my
this.
suggestion is if anybody in the general public out there
Right.
hasn't seen it, they could go to our packet and retrieve the entire report.
so maybe just have a focus on slide 14 then,
Yeah,
since
I'm
we haven't
thinking
had
that
that.
that would be the way to go.
I agree, thank you. Slide 14, or the, one that you were.
Slide 14.
With the
Wanted to bring
zones.
back?
Yes.
Give us some emphasis and.
So I will,
fits
I'll
into
just
the
spend
comp
2
plan.
seconds introducing the team again. I've
Great,
got,
thank you.
Bill Dvorak, Senior Vice President of Development, Coco Collins here, VP of Development Sales, and Eric Newman here, VP of Construction Development. We're all here to answer any of the questions. Michael and Chris, the owners of the development, are not here with us. And I can spend a couple seconds just sort of running through this as fast as I can. I think this just because I know you guys have seen that, I don't wanna bore anybody, but, as Sand Values continue to develop, we've seen more and more, interest in, what we're calling a higher density and more community, right? So as part of that process, we hired a third-party firm, Hart Howerton, to come in and help us think about how to lay out the entire plan across the resort. Their experiences, you can look them up online, but they've done Palmetto Bluff, Sea Island, which are listed on the presentation. Here's some imagery of the things that they've done. Now we sort of get into our vision. I think, we can read through these again. I think ultimately what this particular slide is the most important to us, because it talks about what we really feel is important for the growth of the resort, which is community, that human interaction, walkability, so bringing the homes together, allowing for the amenities, the lakes, the sand dunes to be within a minute's walk of everyone who's either living on the resort or a guest of the resort. Restoring the original sand dunes, adding the water back in, and then creating these energy centers, which create that community. So those are the overarching ideas. Here's the master plan that Hart Howerton helped us develop, and then here's the new slide here. So what we did here was it just simply took this sort of slide, which has got a little bit more of the imagery on, and loaded it into sort of a phased approach. And so all these, I think one of the questions we had when we had the joint commission was, how quickly will this happen, and what are our plans? I think one of the things that we discussed a little bit at length then was that it's all gonna be dependent on the market, right? So these lot sizes will come down a little bit, we will put those out into the marketplace, and then, assuming those lots sell, then we'll continue down the path. I think right now our main focus, because the lake is finished, which is this larger lake right here, around Sedge Peninsula, is the peninsula, because that's where we're gonna have, we're gonna focus on sort of a beach club, sort of kind of community, open to the public, and then adding some homes on that peninsula. So this is the only major change in the slides. Again, this is a breakdown, and we can go through this further if anybody has any further questions, but I just wanna make sure I run through this quickly. Here's a close-up of the peninsula. Again, just as a reminder, the imagery is focused more on the closest of the homes, less on the actual design of the homes. We have not gone through, we've got some preliminary designs, we haven't gone through the full design process. We wanted to come and meet with you all first. Again, Upper Village, Lower Village, I think you guys have been through this and had a chance to review it over the last 30 days or so since we finished it. So And then I think, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, restoration. I think the original plan and the Kaiser plan always is to be mindful of the land that's here. So taking the red pines and putting them back towards the original sand dunes and adding, you know, more communal land is the objective for the whole resort. So, again, not to spend too much time over things you guys have already seen, I'm happy to continue to answer questions or whatever the next potential phase of the presentation is.
I have some questions, if you don't
Go ahead,
mind.
no.
Thank you for coming, first of all.
course. Nice
You
to
and
see
your
you.
entire staff. I have a question, and it relates to, on several of the slides, but
Sure.
the first one is, it would be page 13, which is the overview, the master plan overview.
Sure.
Do you have, and I know this isn't part of your, look, there you go. Can you, just kind of maybe fill me in or whatever with regard to those lots that are up in the upper, left-hand corner that, they're not part of this PUD that you're talking, or this petition that, right now, yeah, is there?
Here. So those were part of the last PUD
Okay,
revision, which is part of Sedge Village, which, you know, I think we originally came in, and Coco, who's here, was part of that presentation, I believe. So basically, from like here over was the original PUD, and these have all been sold to individual homeowners. So this is lot 3, lot 4, lot 5, and lot 6, and most recently lot 5, all are closed and owned by a third party as of this year, or this year.
so that's not part of the zones that you're showing on the next page on 14?
No,
Okay.
so if you scroll, so like if you look at Sedge Village Peninsula,
Yep.
this area corresponds with this, and then if you go through, and this northern
It's part of
village
Upper
is
Village.
this Sedge Village Upper, and you know, this was what we called lot 1 and lot 2 of the original Sedge Village PUD revision, and those are, we've sort of taken 1 and 2 off the market, and this is where we'd like to add some of that community.
Okay.
So then that just as a question, those 3 lots up in the upper left, those are single lots for single family homes, so to speak, or whatever.
Correct, so everything here will be sold, and then the idea of these, again, we focus a lot on restoration, so the lots look much bigger, but I think we've talked about building envelope, we keep the building envelopes pretty strict. So the idea would be to build a home, you have the ability on, these are what we call estate lots, these are sort of cottage lots, they're a little, you know, obviously a little bit smaller. The estate lots, you can build, and Coco maybe can help me here, but I think you can build up to 4 structures, thank you. One dwelling unit, or why don't you answer this? You're probably better equipped, or you can feed me the answers.
Yeah,
You handled it.
take, lot 4, which is in that upper left-hand corner, that's a 30-acre lot. The building envelope on that lot is 2 acres, so 28 acres will remain undeveloped, untouched, or restored back to its natural setting. 2 structures can have livable space, or like bedrooms in them. The other 2 structures cannot be bedrooms. They could be a garage, it could be a gym, it, you know, could be a storage barn, whatever, but that's kind of what the 4 structures are. And that 2-acre building envelope, is fit within setbacks of that lot. So, you know, from the road, there might be at least 200 feet, 300 feet setbacks from Archer Ave, 16, stuff like that.
So all 4 structures need to fit in that 2-acre
Yeah.
building envelope, and then the rest is meant to be restored.
I know building envelope is larger than 2 acres on any lot at Sand Valley.
Next question?
No, can you say that again? No
The
building envelope is greater than 2 acres
Right, so lot.
on any property in Sand Valley.
Nope, yep, even Lido, the largest building envelope on Lido is 2 acres. The largest building envelope at Sedge Village is 2 acres.
For estate.
Yep, yeah, on
For
a
an
state
For an
lot.
estate lot.
Okay,
Large.
okay, there's where I was, okay,
Yeah.
okay. In the original, PUD from March of 2014, or, it said that there would be no more than 296 home sites, and I know it's a fluid situation, but when you're including everything that you are asking for in this new PUD with regard to the density and everything else, do you know how many total home sites we might have, including what you're proposing today?
So it's fluid, because we haven't fully developed the plan out, and I don't know, Bill, maybe you wanna help me think about what truly this is. I know right now, we're contemplating roughly between around 14 homes, 14 to 20-ish homes, I would say, is the range in the peninsula. We looked at a plan recently for this upper village to include 20 homes on those lots, and then lower village, what do we think for a rough
I'm guessing we're
estimate?
probably around 100 to 150 homes across the entire resort, given.
The entire resort,
Yeah.
right now, including what you're proposing with this new
Correct, and
development?
if that's something you would like us to do, we can come back and give you an exact number. but-
Not exact, I was just curious as to where we are right now with regard to.
Well, and that 150 includes Lido, the homes we've already built, and Mammoth Conservancy. So we're at, let's say I don't know the exact numbers of what those are, but I think this is adding roughly, depending on if we end up doing all of it, probably another 90 to 100 units total, just this proposed new part, and then there's about 50 existing.
Can you and I know that you're going to have the visiting center up in the central campus area, I believe. And there's going to be administration offices up there, the practice facility will be up there, maintenance area. But can you explain to me again how you're going to have your visitors? Are they all going to be parking up in that area right off of Archer?
It's a great question. So right now, the way we're thinking about is on the home sites, you'll be able to drive to the home. But in theory, we'd like to really remove the cars from being around the resort. Right now, a lot of people drive around the resort. We'd like to get to walking, biking, and we've got what I call the trolley system or the bus system. So in a perfect world, when you're a resort guest, if you're coming to a home and you need to unload your groceries and everything else, you'll drive up to that home and hopefully park your home there and then walk and bike. If you're coming as a guest in a hotel room, the theory is to be able to park you in those lots and then really leave your car there for the duration that you're staying on the resort, and then from there we can help you get around, whether it be walking to the T, busing you, or biking, or whatever other means we can think of. But we'd like to have you check into the welcome center. Really, the way I describe it is, take your golf clubs to the T, take your luggage to your room, and then leave your car in that parking lot for the time you're there.
So my question then would be, if we had the public that would not be staying at the resort but would like to do the walking trails or go to Aldo or Craig's Porch or something, would they be parking there as well, and then they would be shuttled or use the transport that you would provide to all those other areas?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All these parking lots are open to the public. So I mean, if you
The question is there will still be parking at the satellite facilities available for day traffic, so if you're not a resort guest, but you're driving to Sand Valley Golf Course, driving to Mammoth, driving to Sedge Village, the tennis center, those will all have individual parking lots.
Okay.
What we're trying to avoid, as Baker said, is cars moving throughout the resort on a daily basis when we have other modes of transportation. Part of this plan also contemplates bringing the residential density closer to where the amenities are, so you don't have to get in a shuttle or a car, you can walk to the physical amenities.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead.
just say the lower village on the screen, is in proximity to the tennis center, so there's the gallery restaurant there. If you can, on a nice day, you can walk in and go right to the restaurant, so you wouldn't have to get in a car or bus or shuttle.
And I don't know if you know offhand, or maybe Eric, but there's parking here. So this is the tennis center there. This facility has, I don't know, do you know how many?
It's like 40, 45
So there's
spaces.
40 or 50 spots here, right here at the tennis center. But in reality, we're hoping that if you're staying here, you're walking there, or you're walking there. But anybody, and then same, you can't see on this map, but the parking lot that's up near Craig's Porch will remain there. All the parking that's existing will remain there, and then we'll add parking up by the central campus. But yeah, so the idea really, to Bill's point, is to try to, if you can, if you're staying with us, sort of separate from your car on a daily basis. and really, you know, bring all these things closer to, I mean, I think we talked a little bit in the last meeting, is that, you know, this commons area, I think, is really unique. And that this is sort of a little, what we're calling Sedge Village, and this is Mammoth Village, and, you know, my hope is that you can see on this map here at the bottom, this little red line here is a 5-minute walk, so if that's my pencil, you know, your hope is about 10 to 15 minutes across from Sedge, you know, maybe to be at the beach club, all the way up to Mammoth Bar, you know, a 15-minute walk across the commons, and then that, you know, bringing the community closer together that way, where you have those sort of happenstance meetings, where someone may be walking with coffee, somebody might be playing golf, somebody may be, you know, taking their grandchildren or their dog for a walk, and you see each other in passing through these sort of more connected areas.
Is there any other entrance to the facility besides that one by the Welcome Center?
Eric?
Well, there's 15th Avenue, which will be, this right here will remain.
15th, yeah.
So 15th will be here, and this connection would be something that's phased in, so we would maintain this drive, and then this is Sand Valley Trail. So those will still be there. And then at some point, you get rerouted to provide other access into here. And then we also know we're showing a road coming out here to Archer as well.
And that's a future road or a current road going out to
This
Ar-
would be, well,
the
this
furthest,
is kind
furthest
of a haul trail right now.
west? Okay.
There's a current haul trail there, so kind of in that area, except we would make it a little more interesting than just a straight line, but, it would be basically there, and that would, I'm assuming it would be part of the, you know, either with this one for sure, cause we need to get it around the lake, but possibly for this.
Do you think that at some point in the future, with the development and the increase of the home sites, et cetera, that just having that one main entrance would be problematic on Archer, where we might have to rethink a traffic pattern or stop signs or something like that? Is that something, and is that a county road?
No, that's a
Archer?
town road.
That's a town road?
Well, I think to Eric's point, this I think as we develop Sedge Village North, I think this which is right now a construction access road. But, you know, we've sort of contemplated that as a second entrance to help sort of ease that traffic load. But we very much have had those thoughts and understand that, you know, having one point over there, that we may need to add a second place to get in and out of the resort.
And the other thing that happens with some of this work up in this area here is a lot of the semi-traffic and that type of stuff would be restricted into this area, or at least limited to mostly this area. So this would just be patrons and customers. And again, the amount of traffic that actually is gonna produce daily is be pretty small. It looks like a lot, but it probably, if you did a traffic study, it probably wouldn't net out to a lot of extra traffic.
And I think at the last presentation, you had made a comment that this is a new type of a development for Wisconsin Dunes, or the Kaiser family, with the subdivision type of a thing. And you're primarily using
Hart-Howerton?
Hart-Howerton for your design and your development, and now the what you're proposing here, I'm assuming, well, you guys know what you're doing. You've done phenomenal, but with what Hart-Howerton is proposing to you, this is something that would fit our municipality with regard to our EMS and our police department, and would not be something that we need to contemplate doing something with because of this proposed development. With regard to the number of homes that are going to be here, the people that are coming to recreate here. Has Hart-Howerton given you any information with regard to how that would have an impact on a local municipality?
So we haven't I would say we haven't gone into detail on exactly how all that will work, because we're still in the planning phase, but in general, we're very much, you know, we wanna work with all those different factions of the municipality and make sure that we're able to, you and the community are able to service all those things. So I mean, ultimately, we've thought about it, but we haven't
we're not that far into the plan to know exactly how that will all work.
I guess I have a question, I'd like to piggyback on that, I guess, if you've built other subdivisions though, like in other Dream Golf resorts, is that taken into consideration when those courses have been built with the local communities? Cause I guess I perceive this as a new subdivision, like any other subdivision, the only difference is that it's within a TID and a PUD. So anytime a community grows, it has a need for services.
Sure.
So then I would think as the tax base grows, need for services and the money's there to provide those, but that's always been a partnership with any developer that goes into any area. I mean, that would be my thought process on it, but is this firm different in some way that, or am I
No, I think you're,
misunderstanding
I
something?
think you're exactly right.
Okay.
I mean, I think the
alright.
tax base grows and the community grows and,
And the needs are
and-
there, but
and-
then you provide more services, but you partner on those and donations have been made and I'm not arguing one way or the other.
no, I think you're, I get you're 100%. There's nothing different here than any other.
It's just because it's within a TID and a PUD that they're designing this a little differently
Sure.
than if you're throwing a subdivision on 40 acres out
Sure.
of our
And I think
revenue.
we've tried to be very thoughtful about asking them and I think a normal development, you're sort of maximizing every single square foot, and we're very focused on bringing a lot of these shared amenities into this community. So rather than trying to take 20 acres and put as many homes as you can on it to maximize that acreage, we're gonna add lakes and sand dunes so to allow for sort of shared amenities, but bringing the homes a little closer together.
And just to piggyback on another, I think there were two access roads you referred to last time up on Archer, and I see those used quite heavily. Oops. There you go. Quite heavily with the construction traffic coming in and out of there, aren't there?
Yeah, I
Do I
think-
see, there's another one?
Another one in here somewhere, or it could be over in here, and this just overlaid it, maybe it's behind here, but I know right where
That's
this
the
one is.
primary one with all the traffic on it
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
Okay,
And then this is 15 is right here.
right.
So all the trailers and the Sand Valley Builders and some of the employee housing is right over here.
Okay. Thank you.
And to answer your question, I mean, I think as far as this plan is, obviously circulation is there so that we're not providing dead ends and things like that, so emergency vehicles can access it. I'm sure that Howerton could give us some metrics of, what impact the larger subdivision has on the emergency facilities and responses and all that kind of stuff as well. Gotten into that level, but obviously that's part of the next planning of it and working with you.
Did I remember correctly, or maybe we needed to bring it up tonight, it was a question from last time. You don't see this all going on at one time, you see like doing either the upper village, the lower village, or I think the focus was really around the peninsula
So-
and get that going first.
That was one of
So
the.
people understand all this construction isn't going on at one time, is that correct?
Correct, that was a question, and
Okay.
I think it led to this addition of the slide, so we could talk about this a little bit, in a little bit more clarity. For sure, we're focused on this peninsula in the short term, and I think, we're getting closer, feeling like we wanna move forward with that, assuming we can, everything goes well here, but, because this lake is now filled and done. And then I think, if I were to guess, we'd also, this is another area where we think because adding water is important, and we found that in terms of real estate sales, homes on the water we've been able to sell those more than homes directly on golf, although we do have some golf homes. And then, I think once those happen, and I would say, we'd love to be able to, again, assuming everything goes the way we would like, we would think maybe, 25, maybe parts of this in 2025, hopefully starting construction in 24, and then, parts of this, and then maybe lead down to this, and then eventually, I think this is probably in the 5 to 6 years out plan. So this'll, again, the market will ultimately dictate, these are all gonna be lots for sale, so, again, we've been doing this, and we've done well doing it, but, these are our best guesses that, and taking feedback from our guests and our other homeowners and other buyers about what the community and what the people, our folks visiting Sand Valley want. That's how we sort of came up with this plan, and that's the feedback that we gave to Hart Howerton that helped us develop this sort of amended master plan. So ultimately, the market will dictate how fast we go, but, none of it's, I mean, not all 5 phases will be happening at once. And we look at this as a 5 to 7 year plan, you know, on the, that would be as fast as it would go.
So you're gonna focus, so when it comes to sales on that, probably on the Sedge Village Peninsula portion
Yeah,
first, that's
right
where.
here first, cause I think we'd like to sort of put a, you know,
Around the lake.
these, there's homes are, like this home is in here. So I think, you know, just for the sake of those that are building on these lots that have already bought, you know, the idea of having a 5-year construction site on your lake, we, you know, I think we're hoping that we can have success here and then finish that out, and then that will sort of complete the lake. And then focus on some of these other north and south villages, and again, I think this is sort of, we spent the, you know, sort of a little bit of time just high level talking about this. That's really down the road, and I think hoping if things go well that really helps tie the whole resort together. I mean, right now we've got cars parked in here. I think, you know, first impressions when you sort of drive around here, you sort of see the parking lot first. There's just things we'd like to do to make it more, you know, beautiful than think about the sort of the gravel parking lots that are there now, but they function now, and we'll keep those for a little while longer.
So the focus is to have the amenities there for those homeowners, and then as that builds up, you've got the walkability, you're building that sense of community, and then you'll move on to the other areas. So where exactly does that central campus plan piece fall in with the guest visitor homeowner center? Where do you
So-
think that portion of that central, the orange zone would fall into place? 3 years down the road? 2 years down the road?
3 years would be the target.
Okay,
There's an analysis right now among the operations team at Sand Valley about how to phase in that construction.
okay,
There's no revenue generated from building those facilities, so some
Right.
of that might be offset by revenue generated from lot sales, but big picture, we recognize that as Eric said earlier, bringing all of the traffic for, deliveries, trash, all the way down to the tip of Mammoth Village is not a sustainable operation. So by shifting everything further north, we get that semi-traffic off the roads, all the deliveries are up there, employee parking, and then from there, you're in the resort, and you're in a little bit more of a serene environment. So how quickly that happens, again, 3-ish years, I'd be my guess, but it would be predicated on a few other things happening.
almost like a Walt Disney World or a Universal Studios.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you the
Visitors all
operations
right there,
folks
park
want
it
this
there
first,
and
but-
spread people out among the resort and enjoy and walk.
And part of it is some of the features that are gonna be in here are gonna support the homes and the rental properties
Right.
that are here, so you know what you know now, but you're gonna find out more as they develop, so
Develop,
getting
okay.
this figured out is why we're reserving that area.
Thank you.
I have just one more question.
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
By all means.
In the original PUD, you gave a population analysis, and it talked about overnight guests, permanent residents after the project completion of 90 holes. Do you have any update with regard to a population analysis? With regard to when you're adding everything that you've done, or you, with this proposal?
I'll answer that a different way, and then if I don't answer your question, we can revisit it. But
Okay,
essentially, the metric is roughly 100 to 125 beds per golf course. So the demands thus far in the units that have been built have been corresponding to a golf course getting constructed. So the original units that were built were sufficient, well, not sufficient really, but were dedicated to the Sand Valley Golf Course, the Mammoth Dunes Golf Course. The Sedge Valley Golf Course will open next July, and so the Sedge development was really intended to service the additional customer traffic coming for that golf course. What we're looking at right now, and we believe, is that there's additional overnight demand that we're not providing lodging for. So in addition to looking at other customer types, so empty nesters, families, people who might be living here full-time, we think that there might be some demand too for additional overnight rentals for the current core customer. So as far as that, the analysis goes for us, it's more predicated on, who's coming to the resort today. That could change over time, and we could realize that there is a big demand from empty nesters, there is a big demand from families and other demographics that aren't coming today, and that might allow us to maybe change some of the assumptions around what we're building in that time frame for it.
okay, when you said 150 per course,
100 to
120.
125
100 to
beds.
125.
So a double occupancy room would be considered 2 beds. A typical home at Sand Valley is 4 bedrooms, that would be 4 beds.
Okay,
So for any given golf course, rough math, you're talking 25 homes to 30 homes would support 1 golf course.
If they're all in the rental pool, sorry.
Correct.
No, I'm sorry, Baker, can you please give that number, that last that last number again?
Roughly 20 to 25 homes would equal, 25 homes would equal 100 beds, sorry.
Okay, that's.
So it's really
okay,
the bed
thank you.
count. And that's more of a historical metric that the Kaisers have used over time to not develop more than they need. And I think what we're finding is there might be a little bit more of a demand for more units beyond that metric. So that metric might bump up from 100 to 125 beds per course, maybe 130, 135 beds.
Okay.
Okay, now you're talking about resort properties though, correct?
Correct.
And you're not talking about the permanent residents or the resident employees or anything? You're just talking about the resort properties?
For the development on this property, that would be resort guests and homeowners who are choosing to
Okay.
live in their house.
To go in, okay.
Right.
But the model is the same, but most of our homeowners will also be in the
In the-
rental pool.
Not all of them though, right?
Not all of them, but I think we're at
A majority of them?
7-8%.
Okay, well, that's pretty close
Almost
to-
all of them.
almost-
There's maybe, I can think of one or maybe two homes that aren't in the rental pool.
Are you done now?
That was my last question, Jerry.
I have a few comments. First of all, I like the concept, the design concept for this, but I have a major concern with the density issue. Down in Rome, after Isaacson developed the lakes and had either 3/10 to 4/10 lots very close to each other, it was a big concern on density. And we passed legislation or ordinances to restrict any new lots to be 1 acre or more. Now, here we're looking at lots that are 5,000 square feet instead of 45,000 square feet. I don't want to see us abandon our policy. And once we make a deviation on this project, we aren't going to be able to refrain from having other builders come in with subdivisions and want to have small lots and lots of homes on top of each other. This design reminds me of downtown Chicago. And it's a complete reversal from the Kaisers when they've come in here and had developed before. Michael was big on low density, large lots. Now we're going to the complete opposite. We're going to houses so close together you can barely walk between them. 5,000 square foot lot with a 3,000 square foot house. And then I got another concern about sanitary system, but that's a whole nother issue that's got to be addressed. But right now, I'm definitely against deviating from our 1 acre minimum.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Close all this, but, or do you want me to leave it up?
Sure, it won't make any difference.
For later.
Well, except we'll need to unplug it, just so we can have the next,
Oh, sure.
public hearing.
Then I'll just do,
That'll take care of it.
okay.
Item 7B, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. Short-term rental at the property located at 1358 Sawgrass Drive, owned by James and Angela Lawrence, also described as Lot 149 of Augusta addition to Lake Arrowhead, located in the northeast 1/4 southwest 1/4 section 18, town 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a parcel number of 030-2852-521. Nick?
Applicants James and Angela Lawrence have submitted a short-term rental license application and conditional use permit application for the property located at 1358 Sawgrass Drive, requesting use for the 2023-2024 season, which ends on June 30th, 2024. Letters were sent to 14 property owners within the 200 feet of the affected property. The Planning Commission places conditions on conditional use permits issued to short-term rentals that will set maximum occupancy and maximum number of vehicles allowed on the property based on the standards set in the town code, chapter 234-61. Staff recommends a maximum occupancy of 12, maximum vehicles of 4 to be parked on hard surfaces, not on the lawn or grass area of the property. And a note that applicants have completed all the license requirements, including a property manager within 25 miles of the property and on record for the town.
Okay. Are James and Angela, or you want to come up and tell us what your proposing to do with your property there? You don't have to, but we'd, you know, if you wanted to tell us, you know, what your game plan is, we'd like to hear it from you.
It's gonna be a second home as well as a short-term rental.
We need to have you up at the
They
mic.
nobody probably heard you.
People at home would like to listen to you also.
It's gonna be our second home as well as when we're not using it, we're gonna rent it out.
Okay.
Are you gonna be utilizing, like Airbnb or VRBO?
Yes, Airbnb. Yep.
Airbnb?
And you have a property manager, correct?
Correct, yep.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
I couldn't really tell from the map that was provided, just what the layout of the home was. Is it 2 bedrooms on one? Can you explain the?
Yep, it's 2 bedrooms on the first floor, and then in the basement, there's 2 additional, and then there's, the master has the ensuite, and then,
And the master's on the first level?
first level,
Okay.
yep, as well as another bathroom on the first level, and then 1 bathroom on the, lower
The
level.
lower level,
Yep.
okay. And it's parking for 4 cars, and it does look like there's sufficient parking there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. I'm ready to close the public hearing.
Do I get to make a comment?
Oh,
on
yes,
that?
sir, I'm sorry.
Do I get to make a comment on that?
Yes, you do, please. Come on up. I'm sorry.
Pull that mic back so it's closer to your mouth, 'cause it. There you go.
Hi, a neighbor, 1367 Rain Dance Trail, Gary Meyer. Nothing against the people. I got questions about policies. Short-term rentals. Because I asked this question last time. Is there gonna be 100% short-term rentals that anybody wants to do with their property? Is there gonna be 0%? Can there be a policy developed that only a certain percentage of them, let's say, pull Sand Valley out of this, but let's say there's somebody out there that wants to have 10 properties and do short-term rentals. To me, that leads to fire. And I'm concerned that in the insurance, there's not enough money if there's a fire by somebody that rents the property that doesn't know the fire rules and the fire conditions that we have in this area. That I know that you're supposed to get a hold of the DNR and take a permit out. And I've read some of the short-term rental owners' papers that they require the renters to sign off that they've got insurance and they've read all this stuff. That's not gonna happen, because when there's a fire in my house, somebody else's house, it's not gonna be 1 acre, it's gonna be a lot of acres, and whatever insurance policy that's there ain't gonna be enough to replace it. And that's really my main concern, is renters and fire hazards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else out there that would like to speak regarding this conditional use permit application? Okay, then we'll move on to number 8, close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion to close public hearing.
Second?
Motion by Jerry, second by Diana to close the public hearing. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next section of the agenda is to discuss and possible action on the following items. Number 9, discussion of possible action regarding the meeting minutes from Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. Everybody should have a copy of those.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead.
Second the motion. It's fine. It's fine.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Paul to approve the meeting minutes from Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 10, Discussion of possible recommendation to the town board. Consideration of proposed planned unit development project plan amendment. Request for property owned by Wisconsin Dunes LLC, Sand Valley Resort.
Do you need a motion and a second for us to discuss?
Yep, I think so.
Yes.
I'll move that we approve,
Make a recommendation.
or I'll move that we make a recommendation to the town board for consideration of the proposed planned unit development project plan amendment request for the property owned by Wisconsin Dunes LLC, Sand Valley Resort.
I'll second the motion.
Motion is been made by Lori, seconded by Bill to recommend to the town board the consideration of proposed planned unit development project plan amendment request for property owned by Wisconsin Dunes LLC, Sand Valley Resort. Discussion?
Well, I stated my opposition before, and it hasn't changed. I mean, I cannot approve this plan with the acreage, the size of the lots that they're proposing. They're better off to build some big condo buildings and sell out condos and have houses side by side, my opinion.
What would be the difference though, Jerry, between a condo, the visualization you have with regard to a condo as opposed to the side-by-sides? Or what do you call those types of, what are they,
Townhomes or
Zero lot lines.
zero lot lines, yeah?
is there, would there be a difference in
Well,
the
just that-
density?
That they're, no, but the individual lots now, like you say, we're gonna have to deviate from our policy of minimum 1 acre for this. So now that opens up the can of worms for anybody else who wants to build a subdivision here. If we can do it for Sand Valley, we should be able to do it for them. Small lots and lots of homes. And I don't think that's what we were looking for.
Let me ask the town attorney, is that actually the case? If we would approve this, we are opening ourselves up for any PUD or any planned development that would come in?
Well, so the key point there is planned unit development, right?
Correct.
This had to be zoned as a planned unit development, which means that they have to come with a project master plan, like I said in the zoning report, right? That they came with this larger plan, they do amend it, and it has to follow by our ordinance, the same steps in which the original approval was, but it isn't setting precedent in that regard because they do have to come with a overall plan and talk through what exactly that plan means. If we're talking about other zoning districts, which I think was somewhat referenced there, where a subdivision developer may come in, we have standards for each of those zoning districts, and we have certainly followed those as we've considered subdivision applications as well as our comprehensive plan.
I thought.
But currently, on ordinance, or code, I should say, 360-99, it states that the developer must, at the same time, maintain insofar as possible the land use density and other standards of use requirements as set forth in the basic zoning districts. So that would mean that they should be complying with the 1 acre minimum.
But again, this is, I believe he said, it's within a PUD.
This is POD. That policy, that 360-99 is POD definition and purpose.
Well, it does say maintaining insofar as possible. And with the development that they're proposing and what they're finding is they need these types of housing units to help with their recreational and their resort style.
And I think if you also, not to, oh, I'm sorry, Diana, were you done or?
I think I am, sure. I can be done.
No, I don't want you to be done. I think what's also being stated is that if you look at what they have here, there's a different concept here, and people younger than us, and even younger than me, younger than you, they're forward thinking, and what they want for a second home, a first home, a short-term rental, it's within a tourism TID. And that's the way this property's always been treated. So these developers and designs are more forward-thinking than what we're accustomed to. So, and as Nick has stated, we have worked with developers that have come and asked us about zero lot lines, and we have stuck within the zoning regulations and ordinances that we have. And we've worked with them extensively to get what we can, which would be the same thing we would do here. So I think with the design they're coming forward with, it's very forward-thinking and making us more of a, within the development, a community, a walkable community, a resort-type community, but still welcoming to the general public, including those of us here locally.
But these are not zero lot lines.
I didn't say they were.
Well, I'm just saying you referred to that, and I'm-
No, I was saying we've worked with other people who have asked for zero lot lines, but it wasn't allowed according to our town code, and we've given them other options. Can we, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, but. Well, it's for development of this.
Why don't you let us finish our discussion up here first before we ask for your comment?
I think also one of my concerns is the density issue, but also the strain on our public services after the 7 years of development. But then again, as it was pointed out, that our tax base would be greater. Good, thank you. Which, if we needed to open up more ambulance service or fire equipment or police, that because our tax base is greater, that we would have that ability to do it as this is progressing throughout that is another one of my concerns, is the strain on our services. What was your concern with regard to the septic system?
well, what are they gonna do for sanitation? That hasn't been discussed at all. There's a lot of homes. I mean, there's not gonna be enough land on each property for a septic system, so they're gonna have to have a sewer system of some sort for the whole area. And that's not in the plan any place I saw. It's gonna take, if we're gonna do a typical POWTS, it takes a lot of land for a drain field. And I didn't see a lot of extra land sitting around there other than the golf course. So that's another issue that needs to be addressed, and that hasn't been discussed. With those holes that close.
Is that something that comes at a future hearing at some point?
Well, that's all, should be part of the original plan development.
Was it part of this one? I don't remember.
Nick, did you want to
Was it part of the original?
respond to that 36099? Was there any?
I certainly can. That there's actually a lot more to 36099. So if I'm going to respond to it, I would probably read all of 360-99, which I think sets in place my answer originally, which is that the PUD district is giving large-scale, combined use development. It's applicable to a development which has a number of different land uses. They're combined in a design which provides for desirable and convenient conditions which minimize conflicts between the various land uses involved. The idea there, again, there's a lot more to that section. Point being that if somebody comes in and wants to rezone to PUD, the expectation is they're coming with a full project, right? The PUD by itself, by its nature, is going to have some seemingly incompatible land uses that when you're considering it all together in the full project is very compatible and works for the development. That's what a PUD is. That's what you considered back in 2014. That's what you're considering now. So, again, you need to look at it with the full lens, and it's not necessarily setting precedent because it's going to depend on who comes here with that project and what that entails, right? So it's hard to answer what that's going to mean for the next PUD that might come before you. That's going to depend on what the project plan that they come with and what the uses they propose and whether or not it works with a PUD. But it's hard to answer that from a precedential standpoint because it's this project, right? And you're hearing what their vision is and you're making a determination on if that vision fits with the overall development. And I think that's what they've been speaking to as to how they envision that all to fit in and what their overall goal is.
Yeah,
I just have a comment that I thought, as we were going through this, these are marketing strategies that Sand Valley is developing right now. And they're not quite sure whether they're going to take off or not. Isn't that what I heard last time when you did the presentation before the board and the planning commission?
That's correct.
This is sort of a vision. It is a vision. And you're gonna start to try to market and see if it flies, but it may not, and then you will be back to change the plan if it doesn't.
If I may speak, that's correct assessment.
Okay. I thought that's what I had heard.
Mr. Chair, if I might.
Lori?
Jerry brings up a good.
I'm sorry.
Jerry does bring up a good point, though, about the density issue and having what kind of a sewer system or
Sanitation.
waste system, sanitation system is gonna be. Has there been any
So I could have
thoughts to
answered that.
that?
Can we
What was
finish
the
our
question?
discussion?
Sorry.
Because he said finish our discussion
Sure.
first, and then we'd ask them
Go ahead,
questions,
Lori.
Go ahead.
and then hold your thoughts, please. But I wanna just, on what he said, the original plan in 2014 was a vision as well. I remember, and I asked the question, I don't have this with me, but I don't remember, was
So you're
sanitary,
stealing mine?
I'm stealing yours, was sanitary mentioned in this one either? But currently they have the largest pout system in the state servicing the whole resort. Is that the answer for the future? Possibly not, but the town has decisions it needs to make in that area too, with a Rome Town Center, is that all of our subdivisions are growing and other developments go in, so eventually, I guess we could ask them that question, but it wasn't part of the original either, that I recall.
With regard to the ordinance itself, though, it says that the project plan may be amended pursuant to the same standards applicable to the initial approval.
Right.
And in an initial approval, the standards where the plan commission is to make its recommendation would be, effective project on available or proposed extension or municipal services, effects on the natural environment, adequacy of parking. There's 12 of them. And then there's also one here which talks about the project plan that talks about the location of present and proposed sanitary system and other utility facilities. So I'm just wondering, are these things that we should be provided along with the request for the amendment to the PUD before we can make a recommendation to the board?
Well, that's up to you, right?
Okay.
It wasn't, I think that's what it's been stated, it wasn't provided in the original plan, or any of the number of amendments. That doesn't mean that you can't, ask for that now, or make your recommendation conditioned on receiving that, so we can have some assurances on what those services would be, or what the impact, on those kind of services that they may have or may plan to have.
It does say in here that those things can be also not necessary for it, but I don't know if it's something that we should insist upon, or if we should just go with what has been standard operating procedure with the other PUDs that have been amended, or the amendments that have been presented to the original PUD.
It appears that they have thought this through somewhat, and that they have a response to the question about the POUT system. And I would like them to address that once we get done with our discussion. If anybody has their questions answered so far, I would invite one of the gentlemen up to discuss what their plans are for the sanitary systems.
I have one more.
And do you remember
I have
all
one
those
more.
questions
Okay.
that you were
Just
supposed
one
to
more.
responses for?
Before you, there were two proposed lakes in the Sedge Valley, or in the Sedge Village area, the larger one and then one to the north. Is there any plan to link those two? Or are they gonna remain separate,
In the, what we showed you today,
right?
those are two separate lakes.
Okay,
One's already, you're talking about the one that's already built,
correct.
and then
And then the one to the
proposed new
north.
There's no plan to link those.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, if you'd like to address the sanitation issue,
So, just to address the sanitation question, currently there's a pout system that is serving the tennis facility that was designed for a lot higher use as well as a barbecue restaurant that was never built. So there is a lot of extra capacity there, and there are other areas within the resort that we have availability to create another pout system. We've been working with the pout system people for the last few months on coming up with game plans for that. Also with the homes on the peninsula, they're all 2-bedroom homes, so that's a smaller load. So there's an opportunity to maybe possibly put a small system for those homes themselves. So we do feel confident that whether a lot itself can sustain a septic system, or we can use the existing pout systems that are oversized for what their uses are, or find room for other ones in other areas, that we have more than enough space to handle anything we need for the sanitary sewer usage. And I would also just say one other thing that's not been talked about is in Baker's first presentation, the lot size we said was small, but the lot area that we were developing was a large area. So it's not like we're trying to take 100 acres and put 1,000 homes in it. We're taking a larger piece, putting a bunch of homes on small lots, but creating a lot of public space for those residents and other people at the resort to use. So it's not, it's dense because the lots are small, but we're not putting on 1,000 homes. We're putting on a smaller limit. I mean, Sedge Lake is 40 acres, and everyone gets a chance to use it. So, you know, there's extra square footage that can be divided into those ratios, not by letter of the law, but by spirit of the law.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay, a motion has been made by Lori, seconded by Bill, to recommend to the town board consideration of proposed plan unit development project plan amendment request for property owned by Wisconsin Dunes LLC, Sand Valley Resort. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with one dissenting vote, and that would be Commissioner Wiesinger. Item number 11, discussion of possible action, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. The short-term rental of the property located at 1358 Sawgrass Drive, owned by James and Angela Lawrence, also described as Lot 149 of Augusta addition to Lake Arrowhead, located in the northeast 1/4, southwest 1/4, section 18, town 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with parcel number of 030-2852-521.
I make a motion that we approve a conditional use permit for 1358 Sawgrass Drive, and include the findings of fact in there as presented.
I'll second.
Oh,
You want something else?
with the exception of, in 7C of the findings of fact, that, item number C be amended to just read the applicant has met the requirement prior to the has met all requirements of the short-term rental license.
Has met. Okay.
I don't, not the or is in the process of complying with, because it's not,
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Diana, second by Bill, to approve the conditional use permit for 1358 Sawgrass Drive for a short-term rental. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Before you run off, there's to be some papers that you have to sign, okay?
Except we need to update this now.
To take out the words.
So they'll have to come in,
can't you just cross it off?
we can,
An initial?
sure.
I'd accept that.
So then you're gonna be removing the words "or is in the process of complying with"? That'd be correct?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, we can
Item number 12, discussion of possible referral to a future agenda, consideration of amendment to Town Code 360-24B, sub 8, after 2023 Act 16. Nick?
So I'm just going to give a general overview of this because you can probably tell my voice is right on the line. So, thank you. I'll just speak general to this, although I did provide you some overview and history of this particular item, and I provided in your packets a general overview from the Towns Association. I think it does a good job of giving you some additional overview of the other acts that were passed. A lot of those acts relate to loans and certain efforts to increase the focus on some of the housing concerns that exist. Act 16 is the matter that you have before you this evening for consideration. This isn't an action item, it's rather a proposed adjustment to our ordinance that we would bring back for a public hearing and consideration to recommend to the town board. So Act 16 did a couple things, and it's referenced in that the background or the additional materials, but what it really relates to for purposes of our ordinance is some changes that were done related to protest petitions that would be received for zoning amendments. So back in 2017, the way the law read under 6223 was if there was a protest petition received, it took a 3/4 vote of the governing body to make a zoning amendment if there was an adequate protest petition received. In 2017, that was taken out of the statute. And so what happened is many municipalities went and folded that kind of requirement into their ordinances in some way. Ours does the same. So many municipalities had that same kind of heightened approval requirement where protest petitions were received. And up until this year, that has been how many municipalities, including us, have proceeded. Then this year, 2023 Act 16 was passed with an effort from a couple of different spots, right? One is to create consistency, which I think is what is being done here. And second is to create some predictability from the standpoint of if an applicant comes in and, for example, is denied a conditional use permit application, what that process looks like. That is a little bit more information, but if you read through the act, the language that was in Act 16, that is what is also being folded into Act 16 into the statute. In other words, there's some predictability in process now after Act 16. So what Act 16 put in place for the protest petition piece is it removed that heightened majority requirement, and so it's now a simple majority requirement for protest petitions. There's a couple different exceptions to that. I believe one in the statute is where it involves an airport that a petition would be received with, or a protester would be received from, and then the second is certain downzoning situations, but by and large, it's now a simple majority. So we do need to amend our ordinance because of that. The legislature put in place a delay in the effective date. The delay was until January 1st, 2025, so we're certainly ahead of things as it relates to that, but that delay was to give municipalities the opportunity to amend their ordinances to be in line with the statutory requirements. And so you'll see proposed language in your packet to our zoning ordinance 360-24, section B8. That is the section that we have related to protest petitions. We had required a 3/4 vote if there was a protest petition received. We cannot do that anymore, so it's being proposed to strike that section out.
And just by striking then on the one that you have as number 8, that will bring the town in line with the requirements of Act 16?
That's correct.
Nick, do we need to refer to the page of Act 16 and 66.10015? Where people can refer to that, or no? Is that not necessary?
I don't think it's necessarily.
Okay.
Thank you.
Needed, but
So where do we have the procedure with regard to a protest petition?
currently you're saying?
Yeah,
Currently, it's in 360-24 under sub B8.
B8. Right, but now we're striking it.
Which means we have to follow.
Based on
We have to follow
state
state
law.
law,
Right here,
right?
they changed it.
Which in almost all situations will require just a simple majority vote. It doesn't mean that people can't protest, right? It doesn't mean we don't have a process
That was
for
my
zoning
question,
amendments.
that was my question, what is the process for the protest petition?
Well, I'm saying, it's still, so zoning amendments still follow the same process, right? So, let's just say you have a text or a map amendment, we've had those a number of times. We have a public hearing, and people would have the opportunity to, provide, comments in support or against it. Some may, and you've seen it before, some may circulate and put together a petition. They can still do that, right? And we still have a process surrounding, amending the ordinance, whether it's a map or a text amendment. All it means is that when it gets to the town board, even if historically the requirements would have been met for a protest petition, that still just requires a simple majority vote of the town board when it gets to that, if that makes sense. It just, I mean, it just makes clear after Act 16 that you can't have that 3/4 vote or 2/3 vote. Sometimes you'll see those in municipal ordinances now after 2017. It just makes clear it's a majority vote in.
Okay, so we're deleting,
paragraph 8.
the entire paragraph. It says the protest amendment, an amendment against, a protest against the amendment to the zoning map, duly signed and acknowledged by the owners of 20% or more either of the areas of the land included, et cetera, et cetera. So, there's no longer the requirement to have the amendment, the protest signed by 20% or more? Or is that somewhere else in our ordinances that say that this protest has to be signed by 20% or more?
Again,
Are we
it's-
just taking all that out?
Yeah, you're taking it out because it's all just a simple majority, except for if there was an airport protest received, that's in, I think, 66-100. That was what Chairwoman had mentioned. There's sections under our statutes, right, that set in place the threshold and the required vote. I think it's just with certain down zoning situations and airport related matters. Otherwise, it's all a simple majority. It doesn't preclude somebody from coming forth with a protest, or a petition. We've seen it in the past. We've had them come before with a conditional use permit. We've had some, right, where somebody comes with a petition and says, my neighbors, don't like this component of a conditional use permit and want you to consider it or maybe deny it. We can't have a protest petition requirement in there because Act 16 removes it. It's a simple majority. Doesn't mean that somebody can't come with a written protest against it, and you could certainly consider it, but you can't require a heightened vote to amend it.
This could potentially have some impact on our comp plan that's currently waiting to be sent back to us.
This is zoning amendments, not a comprehensive plan.
No, but there were things changed in the comp plan based on current zoning, so they may have to be reconsidered.
If you're changing your zoning, potentially,
Okay.
but again, only if somebody
Wants to change
protest.
a protest.
Like this has to do with,
Right.
let's say you're considering an amendment, from, I don't know, residential to agricultural, or agricultural to residential, and you have a protest that's received, and with our ordinance as it was, and the law had allowed, cause it was silent on it, right? People could come, and if they hit the threshold, then they could present that to you. You may still make the recommendation to approve it. Once it goes to the town board, it would have required a 3/4 vote.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't mean that nobody can come and voice their concerns or voice their protest.
Okay.
But we can't, it's a simple majority now.
Right, of the town board to,
It's a simple majority, right?
correct. Prior to getting to the town board, though,
Mhm.
a protest, what qualifies as a protest, a bona fide protest to an amendment?
Under the current ordinance?
No,
or-
after this is all gone. After this entire paragraph is struck, what is a bona fide protest then consist of?
In most cases, it's nothing, right? I mean, it's one person coming and speaking against it,
So it
because
doesn't
you're-
have to be a
because it's not
formal-
It's not a heightened requirement for you to consider it or make a recommendation. It's a heightened requirement here.
I think Diana was concerned about the 20% language that was in what you're trying to eliminate as far as, 20% owners or whatever.
Sure, but there is no ability for a protest petition anymore. It's a simple majority.
Yeah. They changed the language as such,
Right.
but they're getting into local zoning is what they're doing.
They
Very-
are.
At the state level. They're getting into local zoning at the state level, and this is like a first step. It's not enough that there's things in statute that tell us we can't do certain things with our own zoning. Now they're telling us how you can zone, right?
Yes, I guess my
Exactly.
point is, if you left all that language in there and just made it a simple majority, what's the difference? It's still a simple majority. The whole point of that protest petition piece was that was what triggered the heightened majority requirement for us to make the adjustment, and we can't do that anymore.
Can't do it anymore.
I think I understand what you're asking, and that is, do you still want the process of a heightened protest before it should be considered by a simple majority?
That's what you're saying.
But it is considered by a simple majority in all situations. So what,
So why would you want a heightened, yeah, okay, a protest is a protest is a protest.
right,
Gotcha.
whether it's one person or 100 people,
Yeah,
it's still, now
Gotcha.
the statute is saying that it's still the same process.
gotcha.
The language here was just setting in place that threshold, which required a heightened vote, which we can't do anymore.
It-
Well, after January of 2025.
Correct.
Wanna hang on to it for you?
Sure.
Okay.
Why?
You could take it, I brought it to his attention, and he said, thank you for reminding me, we gotta get that on the agenda soon, so you can blame both of us, but we have to pay attention to it, cause the laws are changing.
With the
I mean,
change
you-
in
you
the,
do a
I just
couple
wanna
things.
be a
So you
contrarian,
can-
that's okay.
You can make a recommendation that the effective date of that amendment
Take place.
be December of 2024. There's nothing that says you can't do that.
Right.
Just to kind of fully answer that question.
with the zoning amendment change, does that require a public hearing then?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Which, does that go to a
So-
simple majority?
Are
Yeah,
are you
could we
about to
post-
ask me if you can have a protest petition?
No,
Are you gonna ask
simple majority, no.
We recommend the change and then wait until there's other zoning changes before, so that we can combine hearings? Rather than have one hearing on this and then pretty soon when our comprehensive plan comes back and there's zoning changes that have to be heard?
But that comprehensive plan is that's a comp plan.
Yeah, it's
Right.
zoning,
That's
There's-
not zoning.
zoning.
Okay,
Now, there
but there
may be
there may be
implications.
some
We're going to
zoning
go through-
issues if it's
so-
adopted.
I thought what you were going to ask was, we're going to be, over the winter, going through a zoning
The
code
zoning code as well.
audit,
Right.
right?
So what I'm
This
saying is we
doesn't-
shouldn't single this out, we should wait until we've reviewed the code, and if there's other changes, we can just have one hearing
Certainly,
rather
as
than a
long as
hearing
you
just
do
on
it-
this issue.
As long as you do it before the end of the year.
Before the end of next year,
We'll do it in
this
May.
year, next year.
Got it.
So, just so I understand,
We
for
can
agenda
delay it just like
purposes,
the issuance.
are we holding on anything with this then? So it's just an update at this point, and we're not going to set it as a public hearing?
I don't like to lose sight of it. That's my only concern. It's like if it's something we know we have to do, why wouldn't we just get it? Because they might change their minds again and throw
No,
something
because
else our way?
we're gonna be doing other zoning changes, I'm sure.
Okay.
And I'm saying, don't go forward with this to a hearing when there's other proposed changes. Let's wait, hold on to this, don't lose sight of it,
Okay.
that's her job. And unless there are no other proposed changes, then we go forward to the board. But until such time that we're completely assured that we're not gonna make other changes, it doesn't seem practical
Okay.
or warranted to
Do
go
it now.
forward.
And we know we're gonna start in January, so, all right.
Cause it's not cheap to do a hearing, a
No,
public
it's not.
hearing. That's. I'm
Any
thinking
other
of it.
thoughts, or everybody agrees with Bill to hold off till,
Consolidation of other things?
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay. Will you help me with that?
She's practicing, Mike.
Yep. All right, so we're clear on that then?
Yeah, and I believe the change that Nick has prescribed is exactly what the state law is requiring, so. There's no need to do any further work on it. It's a matter of just holding it until we have an opportunity to add it to a caseload of code changes.
Okay. Then the next, item number 13 is the next agenda items. Taylor, do you have anything on the radar for next month yet?
I don't believe so.
Dan?
I got a couple of STRs to get through that just came in the mail, but outside of that, that's really about it for right now until we start doing the audit on the zoning.
Okay. Nick, anything that comes to mind with you?
Nope.
Okay.
Just
Hopefully it'll
if we
be
have some
quiet
short-term
over the
rentals,
Christmas
we'll have
holiday.
those on the agenda, but I think Chairman will communicate a potential agenda and probably just streamlined again.
Sure.
The packet that we got with regard to the short-term rental this month, there were a lot of documents in here that we never, well, we did get them in the past, but they deal more with the short-term rental than the consolidated use permit, and I think they stopped sending us a lot of this documentation.
So part of the explanation for that is that this particular property previously had a short-term rental license, and now there's new ownership. And so we wanted to provide some of the past paperwork so you could see kind of the calculation that went into
Okay.
the maximum occupancy. But feedback is always welcome. Did you like that data? Did you not like that information?
I liked it because there was a previous permit on that property, but
I thought
I'm
it,
one person.
I thought it was thorough so that there were no surprises from
Yeah.
the audience. That's why I appreciated it. In other words, if somebody would come up and said, well, I lodged a complaint to the previous owners, and it wasn't part of our packet. This is a no surprises type issue. It does take up a lot of paper if we have a lot of short-term
But
rentals.
that would only be
If there
for
were previous.
short-term rental conditional
Right.
use permits, not anything new.
Well, there were other things in here that were not necessarily pertaining just to the,
Basically, it was, everything was in there.
Yeah, this was,
the whole, this was a
Usually
full
everything
packet.
that we saw in this one is done by staff in-house anyway, correct? All the reviews and everything?
Right, so I'm not disagreeing that we can reduce the paper, but if there is a complaint, I would like to know about it, a previous complaint.
I think it's also helpful knowing they went through the checklist we created about this time, January of last year, February of last year, to ensure that we had everything we needed to approve a short-term rental. So I think that gives us an opportunity too, and even if we move forward with other discussions as far as 12 occupants, 4 cars on impervious surface, we've had this discussion over and over, what about trailers with boats, jet skis, ATVs? So I think that information is helpful at some point, but I guess we could maybe leave it up to them as what they feel is important to bring forward to help us make our decisions. That's my feeling, but.
Yeah.
My feeling is that that's all part of the short-term, process and not the conditional use permit.
Something that the board has to look at, the commission.
That's my opinion.
Are we good? Okay,
I have one other item.
sure.
We could start looking maybe in January at, permissible, camping in newer developed subdivisions outside, not talking a PUD or like the tourism TID, but when we have larger developments where they're coming in and buying 40-acre parcels, with the exception, of course, if somebody developed a campground. I mean, there's some language we can get together, but we could start evaluating that when we have larger parcels being sold and the permission of, that would grandfather in everybody that's currently camping at this point, but anything in the future when a subdivision is divided up and, prepared for future use, no, camping is not permitted as one of the allowable things. If we could explore that somehow. We talked about some of that before.
Okay. Got that, Taylor?
I do.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Would you be thinking of a new R district, or
Any
saying
district,
R-
like we had to, we
saying
just,
it's an
they,
R1,
well,
but this specific subdivision gets no camping?
well, any subdivision that gets developed in the future. For example, there was an R1 just behind the Rome Town Center that was approved for what, 89.9 acres? There's camping in there now, in an R1. So any future, I mean, that would be the discussion, is what do we do or don't allow camping in the future? Current camping would be grandfathered, I would think, but moving forward, any new subdivisions that we go through for the town, we should really think about if we're gonna allow camping in R1s, what districts would what zoning districts would we allow that in?
Well, right now, it's allowed in basically all R1, R2. That's what, according to code, so I don't know how you could eliminate in one subdivision if you pass them as R1.
Townwide,
Yeah, you'd be looking broader than that.
I was gonna say, you'd have to go townwide.
that's what I'm talking
In
about.
my mind, the packet and the information that would be provided to you would be all the districts and reviewing where camping is permitted or not. And then I think we have a section of our ordinance that has camping regulations. Basically give you all that information and then you guys can have a conversation about it, but I don't think it's prohibiting it in one subdivision development. I think it's looking at the zoning district rather.
So once you change it, take it out of R1, that is townwide then, correct?
Yes, but it's also creating non-conforming uses
Yeah, a lot of them.
potentially.
For further discussion.
A lot of discussion.
Anything else?
Bring that up, there'll be a big crowd here.
Okay, then, item number 14 is our next meeting date and time will be January 9th, 2024 at 4:00 PM. And I'll adjourn the meeting at 5:28 PM.